I'm thinking of, I'm checking with the Senate to move it to the center of the yard because it's a bigger place for a band. So it's not like
Business and Support Services Committee meeting, Thursday, June 9th, 5:30 PM. It is 5:33 PM. We're in the Amber Yuri Boardroom. Roll call.
Dr. Cecilia Moreno,
Present.
Mr. Hector Noyola. Here. Mr. Jesus Martinez, present. Mr. Jose Valdez. Mr. Ricardo Garza. Present. Mr. Hector Garcia.
I am present.
And Mr. Jose Perez, absent. Okay, we have a good quorum.
Our Pledge of Allegiance, Mr. Garza.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Guten Tag.
Item number 1, Dr. Nelson.
Thank you, Dr. Moreno. At this time, I'll turn it over to our Chief Financial Officer to take us through item number 1, which reads, discussion and presentation to approve and/or ratify the monthly disbursements for April 2016 at the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees, June 2016. Ms. Ayala?
Thank you, Dr. Nelson. Good evening, Madam Board President, Board of Trustees. Total cash disbursements as of April 2016 were recorded at $19.6 million, of which $14.3 were spent on payroll costs, and $5.3 million were spent on the payment for goods and services. May I proceed to item 2, Madam Board President?
Yes.
This is discussion and presentation to approve monthly reports and other update reports. I'll be covering the highlights of unaudited financial statements as of April 30th, 2016. Under gifts and requests, donations for the month of April 2016 were recorded at $10,876, followed by the fiscal year-to-date donations in the amount of $104,168.
I'm sorry, were those monetary donations?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mostly checks,
It's enough to cover all those uniforms for women.
cash. Under revenues and the month-to-month comparison, we generated $2.9 million, which is 32% or $707,000 more when compared to April 2015. And as we scroll down, we have the year-to-date comparisons. For the year-to-date amount up to April 2016, we have generated $147.6 million, which is 8% or $10.8 million more when compared to the same period last year. Here we have the tax collection summary report. For the September to April collections, we generated $25.4 million, which is 90% of the budgeted amount of $28.2 million. Then the October through April collections were recorded at $25.3 million, which is 89% of the adjusted opening levy.
So does that reflect that we're collecting less on our delinquent taxes?
It is less because of the homestead exemption. We are recuperating that amount in Tier 1. TEAs is holding us harmless on that amount.
When you compare delinquent taxes, they come into the homestead exemption?
Delinquent on last year's?
Yes. In other words, just delinquent taxes that are owed, are we collecting less, was my question.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I have to check the report. Let me check.
Velasquez.
Actually, no. For the tax year 2014, we've collected $81.8 million. I would have to research it more.
Okay,
Yeah, because, I have to get back with you on that one.
okay.
Here we have expenditures by object. Total expenditures recorded were $19.7 million, which is 13% or $2.3 million more when compared to April 2015 expenditures. Then we have the year-to-date expenditures recorded at $141.8 million, which is 7% or $8.8 million more when compared to the same period last year. Here we have those same expenditures, but we have them by function. We spent $88.3 million more, $88.3 million in direct instructional services, followed by plant maintenance and operations in the amount of $14.1 million, which is 10% of the total expenditures. Here we have other financing sources and uses. Total expenditures for April, our transfers out were recorded at $16.8 million, which is $15 million more when compared to the same period last year. And that has to do with the transfers out to capital projects on some reservations that we had in general fund. Under the administrative cost ratio, the standard is 11.05%. The amended budget contains an 8.02%, and the fiscal year to date ratio stands at 6.35%. Again, here we have the summary of the general operating fund. Total revenues recorded again at $147.6 million, which is 72% of the amended budget. The time lapse is at 67%. And then we have expenditures of $141.8 million with commitments in the amount of $6.6 million. If we sum those two amounts, we have committed about 73% of the amended budget.
This slide here reflects that we would have spent some of our undesignated unassigned fund balance? Do we expect that to take place, or just it happens?
We have to, right. Our plan is to spend it in full what we had planned to do.
But we've never faced having approved that we go into our undesignated fund balance.
Oh, I'm sorry, on the undesignated, no. What happens is it's by formula. The expenditures have to be adjusted in accordance with, obviously, if the revenues are not in and we have spent more,
Right.
It is intended.
So are we expecting in the end that we
No.
would have gone into our undesignated fund balance?
no, ma'am.
Okay.
Hopefully, our final payments will come in as expected. We have faith. Here we have our child nutrition program. Total revenues recorded at $15.2 million, which is about 80% of the budgeted amount, followed by expenditures, which represent 78.97% of the amended budget of $19.6 million. Here we have the E-rate fund. Total revenues generated $165,000, which is about 55% of the amended budget, followed by expenditures of $379,000 with commitments of $115,000, which represents about 18% of the amended budget. Here we have the athletics fund. Total revenues, $198,000, which is 98% of the budgeted amount of $202,000, followed by expenditures of a little bit over $1 million with commitments of $146,000, whose sums represent 83% of the amended budget. Under our debt service fund, total revenues earned $21 million, which is 78% of our original budget, followed by expenditures of $5 million, which is 18% of the budgeted amount. Next, we have special revenue funds. If you have any questions, we do have the Director of Federal Programs to respond to your questions.
Well, I did have a question on the body cameras.
It's okay.
You only have until September to spend that money, and you've had 2 years to spend it. And we hope that something didn't happen in the end, and they can't deliver because there's been a big demand for them, or something. I think we're lacking on this. We need to hurry.
You know, the chief is out of town, but I'd anticipate that everything is going forward with that, but we'll make sure we
Right, but it
spend.
does happen occasionally that you're ordering something and it's can't be
Back
delivered.
order.
Right.
Yeah. We'll
By
follow up on
September.
that. Here lastly, we have the summary of construction.
There is a couple of
funds.
schools that haven't spent their money, and I don't need to be telling them which ones they are, but is someone looking at that?
Yes,
To
ma'am.
see that the funds don't get
Yes, ma'am.
lost?
Yes, good evening, members of the board, Dr. Nelson.
Can you put the slide that has those schools?
On the federal?
Yeah.
Yes, that first one, right there.
So the balances, some of them don't reflect some of the payroll that's outstanding to be paid for the month of May, but I can tell you that the campuses that do have balances remaining, Martin High School has a balance of $7,000. They'll be utilizing that money to provide additional intervention classes during summer school. Also, Cigarroa Middle, they have a balance of $13,000, and they'll be using that money to hire teachers during the summer to plan instructional activities for next year as part of the turnaround plan.
Was there a school that had 2 sources of money? Can you go to the next slide? No, it's not that one. Okay, go ahead. There was a school that was receiving 2 sources of money, and one of them was totally unspent. But okay.
They've all, well, from the SIG, they've all spent, but like I said,
Okay.
the rest of the balance will be spent during summer, either for planning or for tutorials. Or some of them are attending professional development sessions, so they're submitting their travel requests.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I'm
Any more
sorry,
questions?
can you, on that last slide, can you provide us, by the end of the summer, a copy of this slide and how it looks at the end of August? A lot of times, we don't get to see that the previous month.
I
and we can
did
just-
provide a current year-to-date expenditure report, which is...
No, I know, but I want to see how it progresses
Sure.
from this point on to the end of summer, so because we can see the zeroed out process and how much it took to get zeroed out.
Any more questions? May I proceed to the
Yes.
next item? Item 3, discussion and presentation on the following budget amendments. 3A, BA 1516-45, discussion and presentation to approve the general operating fund budget amendment in the amount of $11,185 as a result of transfers between
So
functional
how do we get to
expenditure.
see what is included in this 11?
Yes, there is backup documentation.
I thought I had
So,
authorized...
Ms. Rodriguez, you might be able to tell us quicker. The question on the table is the $11,000 for discretionary funds. Do you know off the top of your head what it's allocated for?
Yes, it's right here. Well,
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ms. Ayala.
You want to show us that one?
It does not. So
It
we have
just-
one more discretionary funds. Oh, okay, so it, okay.
Mine's in there, right? Well, I gave over to you? For everything else.
Can you blow it up a little bit?
Okay.
So, Dr. Moreno, to answer your question, here are the line items that we have for the discretionary fund, the $11,185. Even though this adds up to, well, it doesn't have a total.
Yeah, it does not have a total. This is generated by the system, but it should be $11,000.
So, we can get you a detailed
Okay,
list.
that's fine.
Yes, it's
It-
mariachi camp and a bunch of other things
We
that
have
we're
them
doing.
here, for instance, here we have 2,200 to pay teacher super salary tutorials. These are regular transfers. I will need, the whole documentation is there, but I will
We'll
need to
email it
search
to you.
it.
Email it to you.
So moving on to item 3B, BA 1516-41, discussion and presentation to approve the general operating fund budget amendment in the amount of $89,472 as a result of transfers between functional expenditure
So is there
categories.
a request for a budget amendment for every one of the accounts that's overdrawing on this? Because you've got a number of accounts that percent used is over 100%. That means that the account is overdrawn.
On the federal side, what happens is there's a 25% flexibility. I don't see any, the 93 cents.
I don't know, there's one of 106%, 100%. I mean, there's just a number of them. $201 at one.
We just need to prepare, right,
$1,445.
we need to ask the school to do a transfer, and we usually close and balance everything once we close the grants. This will be under 211 Title I. So there's a 25% flexibility that you can overspend, but yes, you need to cover it by doing a transfer.
Okay.
We need to follow up on that. Item 3C, BA 1516-42, discussion and presentation to approve the child nutrition program budget amendment in the amount of $6,500 to appropriate the 2016 National School Lunch Program Training Assistant Grant in the amount of $5,000, the 2016 Hunger Free Texans Keeping Our Communities Healthy Conference Travel Grant Award in the amount of $750, and the 2016 Team Up for School Nutrition Success Workshop Travel Grant Award in the amount of $750.
Cuando dijiste los chicanos y todo eso, los mexicanos, es muy feo.
Item 3D, BA 1516-43, discussion and presentation to approve the 2014 EDA bond series
3A.
and the 2006 IFA bond series budget amendment in the amount of $1,588,825 for the construction expenditures of the early childhood centers at the Jesus A. Caguas Elementary School, Tomás Sánchez Ermelinda Ochoa Elementary School, and Santo Niño Elementary School based on the guaranteed maximum price.
I'll get you the information.
3E, BA 1516-44, discussion and presentation to approve the 2014 EDA bond series budget amendment in the amount of $1,289,007 for construction expenditures of the Raymond and Teresa Martin High School tennis courts based on the guaranteed maximum price.
What I'd like to do real quick here, if I may,
When is the construction gonna start on those? Mr. Velazquez?
tennis courts at Martin Construction,
Thank you.
as soon as this
Good
is
evening.
approved,
Correct, that's basically, we're just waiting for the approval to get the purchase order, and, we're going to start right away.
And I would just personally, for the tennis courts that are gonna be built at Lamar, that we look at the grant, because this is already too far, not gonna wait another 6 months. for $20,000 where, we can apply that to the Lamar one because we waited too long on this for Martin Day.
Yes, we
They
took
really
note
need it, right.
of that at the operation meeting.
So, Dr. Moreno, I just think that needs to be clear in our business support meeting so that we can go have conversations with our community partners, specifically the local chapter of the United States Tennis Association, that we want to partner with them. I was actually at an event, Mr. Garza and myself went to an event at the Nixon Tennis Courts to really show that we appreciate them wanting to invest in what they call tennis south of Saunders, is what the Tennis Association calls it. And so we want to keep that going. We're going to do it with Lamar, but we're going to respectfully decline on doing the grant for the Martin Tennis Courts because we would have to delay the project 6 months.
But
So I'm
one
gonna
thing
go
I
ahead
do
and-
want to make sure, and I don't know if Sylvia's done it, is that make sure that the curriculum that they have is a very interesting curriculum.
Yeah, we want to partner with them.
Right. We want to partner with them because it's interesting.
No, definitely. And I sense from them, Mrs. Trevino, to be specific, is really excited about the coaches we have, really excited about the project we have coming with Martin. So I just want to capitalize on that. And I don't want her to misinterpret, for the record, that our lack of interest in this specific grant from Martin is because we're not interested in working with them.
I think also, we did notice that Nixon High School is having a summer camp for 5-year-olds.
Yes, for
And
tennis.
older, and that's really good.
She's excited about that. So we're excited to work with her.
Yeah, in fact, I'm going to bring it up just as a reminder.
Can we go to bids and proposals and quotes? Ms. Ayala?
Thank you. Item 4A, renewal. This is for Region 1, number 15-04-11. This is for Child Nutrition Program food items. The Evaluation Committee recommends renewal of the contract to Labatt Service and Cisco Central Texas for an estimated amount of $4 million. Item 4B, renewal, TASB Buy-Board Co-op vendor number 487-15, Texas Primary Reading Inventory, TPRI, Tejas Lead Monitoring Software Program and Materials. The Evaluation Committee recommends renewal of the contract to Liberty Source LP for an estimated amount of $40,056. Item 4C, renewal, TASB Buy-Board Co-op vendor number 449-14. This is for assessment and instructional materials. The Evaluation Committee recommends renewal of the contract to Houghton Mifflin Harcourt for an estimated amount of $500,000.
So which one is that?
4C.
Oh, 4C, okay.
Item 4D, RFP number 16-016. This is for student insurance. The Evaluation Committee recommends awarding a contract to the brokerage store for an estimated amount of $318,000, which represents the best value to the district.
So I did have a question. 4C, why is the amount going up so much?
For reading assessments,
It
textbooks?
says historical expenditures for 1 year, 96,000. Estimated expenditures for 1 year, 500,000.
And we're buying more from Huffman Mifflin than ever before.
Right, because we're using the IMA allotment now to buy some of those materials.
We talked about that this morning.
It's for K through 12. Before, it used to be only in sections, correct? And so now, all of it is bundled together for all of the grades.
So we used to have like 2 or 3 different,
Sources. And now we're using all IMA.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. 4D?
RFP number 16-016. This was for
Oh,
the
I'm sorry.
student
I'm
insurance.
sorry. You already read that. 4E as in Edna?
so
Just
are
one
we,
Oh, okay.
are we considering this approval on the student insurance? How does that
Yeah,
correlate to
pending
this?
the response from our insurance consultant.
Yes.
You know, I'll be clear. We talked about this for the public's, the pink sheet that you
Yes.
received is just a follow-up that the board asked us, what would be the possibility of being our own self-insurance carrier for student insurance? And so we're working with our consultant, and I don't anticipate it's going to be in our best interest, but it is something we're investigating, and if we need to pull this, we will.
The question was $159,000 a year, and we're just asking.
Could we do it internally?
If we get a better rate if it's within our own system.
Is this insurance like for our athletes, or
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Kids get hurt,
does that include our cheerleaders?
cheerleaders, Friday night games, somebody gets hurt for any reason. Yes.
Okay.
If a regular student that is not in athletics
Can they purchase it?
can he purchase?
Yes, sir.
So,
It's offered to all students.
Student insurance, yes. Additional, we have insurance that covers you twist your knee, but you can actually purchase more coverage if you want to as a parent.
okay.
For E as in Edna?
TASB buy board co-op vendor number 430-13. This is for the purchase of a vehicle. The evaluation committee recommends awarding a contract to Gun Chevrolet for an estimated amount of $26,442.
What vehicle is this for?
This is the vehicle that you supported the Office of Technology Services on.
The two of them?
Just one.
We approved two.
And we approved one. They asked for two.
The board asked for two. The board approved two.
The board approved one.
It was brought back to the board, and we
It
said.
was
make
brought
it
back to the
two.
board as one.
Two.
No, we asked for two. It was requested for two, and we brought one for
I
approval.
would suggest go back to the minutes. When we approved the $150,000, we also said, make sure we get two cars. No.
Right, then we're gonna,
We
right,
asked for a second car.
right, and so, let us look at it. I believe what our plan was to get one now and then get another one.
But that's not what we approved. We approved two now.
Okay, we'll go look at it.
One and one. We said, let's do it all now, and let's buy two at the very beginning.
All right, we have to have
Mr.
the funding.
Valdez?
Yeah.
Right, we have to fund the funding, right.
Mr. Valdez?
Yes,
I do remember what I brought.
Yes, sir, yes, sir. no
I
problem.
noticed that we're buying from Gun Chevrolet.
Yes.
Was there a lot of difference between Gun Chevrolet and local bidders? How many cars does Gun Chevrolet give us every year when our students graduate?
0.
Chevrolet.
Right.
I didn't hear.
So, I feel like we need to say that we
Well,
don't
what was the
use where
difference?
they're located as a criteria.
I'm by. Okay, because I know that, I don't know if it's with us, but I believe in the county, we can go at least 3% or something above the minimum if it's a local bidder. I forgot what it was, Mr. Alcantara.
10% on a
It's 10%.
sealed bid.
On a seal bid.
Up or down?
Yes,
I'm
yes, to answer your question or to address your question, we use the purchasing co-op. The
State
other
your name
issue.
for the record, please.
I'm sorry, Gustavo Alcantara, Procurement Director. There's two issues. The first issue is we use the co-op to obtain fleet pricing, and the second issue is that the truck must be here by 8/31, and there's such a backlog of trucks and vans right now that we may not be able to get it with the fleet price by 8/31.
Well, I didn't ask any of that. My question was, what was the difference in the price from a local bidder and the one we got here?
We can definitely check into that by the board.
You know what I'm saying? In other words, what I want to know,
The difference in
The
price.
difference in price?
what is
Sure.
the difference? Because we got a lot of additional support from our local vendors that we do not get from outside vendors. Again, if the difference is so significant and we have to comply,
Well,
we will comply. But we must keep that in mind.
If I may, sir, the other reason we use the co-op is that these products have already been bid out. Now, if we decide to go with a local vendor, we'd have to do a competitive bid, and that would move the item to August, and we may not get it here by 9/31. That was another reason. 8/31, I'm sorry.
So can we find out if any of our local vendors participate in any co-ops? Because it could be that
We've
not
looked
in
into
this,
that. We don't have any local vendors that are in co-ops at this moment.
in any co-ops at all.
Not at this moment, no. That, we checked
That's
a
one of
couple months ago.
that's one of the basic rules in economic development in communities. If you can get whatever you're looking for locally, don't go outside. And that's why the question has to be asked, so that we can clarify that, no, we cannot get that cheaper here.
Yes, sir.
But if we can, we've got to.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I mean, on that, does it mean that we can't go out there and encourage and solicit and tell the local vendors, please put your name as part of the co-op board, please?
The Region 1 does it.
Yes, Region 1, the Buy Board, and the other co-ops, they do advertise sometimes in the local paper, and they do post items on their webpage.
Yeah, I've seen that.
But it is
you
a
can't.
long
It's a shame.
process.
It's a shame, that's what it is. It's a shame. It's okay.
I understand.
Yeah, I
Dr.
mean,
Moreno?
It's not your fault. I mean, it's just what I'm saying. It's a shame that
I
they...
mean, we can go talk to them and ask them to put in, but I sense business is good enough for them that they don't need to participate in the co-op. If I may, Dr. Moreno, I'd like to invite our Chief Technology Officer to the podium so that we can respectfully clarify what happened with Mr. Garcia's comments. I know that Mr. Garcia was clear on supporting it. We actually internally had some discussion about what to bring. It was clarified. And I think we have a plan to meet what the board wanted us to do and fund it sporadically. So if you could just clarify, and if it meets the expectations of the board, we'll go forward. If not, we certainly want to respect the wishes of the board. Mr. Manoa?
Good evening, Dr. Nelson, members of the board. I think I understand where some of the confusion's coming from is when we brought the item to the board for consideration, it was because as a district, whenever we purchase vehicles, those vehicles need to be included in our capital improvement plan. And so when we brought the item and we talked about the need to have two vehicles, it was in the context of getting approval to include it in our capital improvement plan for two vehicles, of which we had found funding for one already, and our intention was with our new budget year, with the approval to have it in our capital improvement plan, we would already have proceeded with a new budget year to get the second vehicle. So
The motion I made said not to follow that, to find the funding now and purchase them now and not wait for later. That was the motion, and if you go to the minutes...
Okay, well, we have not found the funding yet. We'll continue to search for it.
and if we can find the
But
funding...
we have a plan to get to as the board directed us.
Yeah.
I gave him an old one, a used one.
That was our initial idea, but
No, I just played.
I don't want to bring it back up. Okay, thank you, Mr. Manoa, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Nelson.
So with that brings us to tax refunds, Ms. Ayala.
Staff recommends approval.
Staff recommends approval. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments on 5A through I as in indigo? If not, may we have permission to proceed? Thank you. May we have permission, Dr. Moreno?
Yes.
Item number 6 is discussion and presentation on speaking services provided by the superintendent to other entities pursuant to Education Code Section 11.201 subsection E. Dr. Moreno, members of the board, I have been asked to give a opening kickoff keynote presentation to the Del Rio Consolidated Independent School District, to all of their assistant principals and above, on August 4th at 8 o'clock. We actually have a meeting here in Laredo ISD scheduled for that evening. So my plan is to speak at 8 o'clock in Del Rio, finish at approximately 10, and return back to the office right after lunch by 1 o'clock, and be here for that afternoon and the business support meeting August 4th. I'll be receiving $4,500 for that speaking engagement.
We have the question. We moved the meeting.
Oh, okay, so we don't have a meeting that night. Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez, for clarifying. Any case, I'll be back right after lunch.
Okay.
Item number 7 is discussion and presentation on the selection of a delegate and an alternate for the 2016 TASA-TASB Convention in Houston, Texas on September 23rd through the 25th, 2016. Members of the board, as you know, the board normally selects a delegate and an alternate to participate in the, I want to say, formal activities at the convention. And so
So this
At the meeting of
particular
the board.
will be on the agenda for the regular meeting Monday.
well, we can do that, or what I was thinking is that we could identify it now and just put it on consent agenda on Monday. But we can talk about it on Monday if you'd prefer.
Who's going?
Well, that was the question, was going to be who's going and who has done this
Done it in the
before.
past. I know Mr. Martinez, Mr. Garcia, Mr. Garza. So,
I think the question would be better, who's going to the meeting?
okay.
That's up
That
to-
person could represent us.
I can't say
don't
that
have
far,
to-
that far, that far in advance.
September.
I'm sure I'm going. Yeah.
State convention.
You know, based on the grassroots leadership,
Right.
part of me, it's not my call, but
I
I
think
just,
Mr. Martinez. or
Mr. Martinez
Garza
can advocate
would be a
for us.
perfect ask.
So do we need a delegate and an alternate?
Right, so,
And we have Mr. Martinez and who else? Mr.
Mr. Garza's going?
No,
Mr. Valdez?
I did it for about 10 years until I got bored and now there's nothing in there. The grass grows higher here in Laredo than it does over there.
the grassroots. So then I hear,
Ahí, you know.
So we would consider Mr. Martinez as the delegate and Mr. Garza as the alternate?
Sounds good.
That'll work. I mean,
so then for that, we'll put it on consent.
You both can go to both meetings.
it's about as exciting as watching pond water, but, you know, it's something it's a cast of characters in there, so, yeah,
Okay.
we'll do it again this year. We'll do it one.
We actually put it already on the regular agenda, so we'll just take care of it
Okay.
on Monday. Okay. All right. Item number 8 is update on DGBA local and FNG local policies. All we hope to accomplish tonight is to introduce that we need to critically review these two policies. These DGBA local is the grievance policy for all employees. And it starts at level 1, and all of it culminates with level 3 at the board. And so the first thing we want to do is let you review them. FNG local is the grievance policy for students and parents. So if a student or a parent is dissatisfied with the decision made at a campus, technically our policy allows for that family to file a complaint. There's a form, and it goes level 1, 2, 3, just like DGBA. And so I'll work with the board president on if we want to do employees separate from students and families, but both of them need a review and clarification on the expectations to make sure they're implemented correctly.
I think one of the things that's important is that we consistently use maybe the word grievance, because people understand that grievance requires a set process.
Levels, right.
When we use the word complaint, and I know that the policy does say that they're used interchangeably,
Right.
but when we use the word complaint, we have a tendency to think it's someone that
Right.
has a concern. And we think we just have to listen, and that's the end of it. But that's one of the things that we would first initiate.
Yes, ma'am.
One of the things that I noticed over the past a month or so with everything that went on is the processes of the policies that we are introducing. For example, during the grievance processes, we need to figure out a better way of allowing not only the grievant on how to present their case, at least at the level 3, but how to make sure that the staff has the equal time or a more organized way of doing things so that either everybody can be on the same page, because personally, when we sit there and listen to these and we have 3 or 4 staff members talking to us with 3 or 4 different stories, your case is lost before you even started, because there's no, and I don't know if that can be placed as part of presenting it to us by the time it gets to level 3. But that kind of stuff, I think, needs to be written as to who's going to speak, how, you usually get the 10 minutes, but it doesn't tell you who 10 minutes is going to be for. So everybody gets to speak, and then you lose it in translation as you go along. And I'm not sure if you can apply that here.
I think we have to also find a way to stick to a review of what was discussed at level 1 and
level
2,
two.
because that's what the policy says, that you present your case at level 1, and whatever you don't present at level 1, you
can't
can't be
bring.
adding to it as you move along.
Correct.
And when we allow people to just simply speak, then they do add to it.
Correct.
And so there has to be a way that we, focus on what was said at the level 1, and what was the response that we had as a school district, what was said at level 2, and what was the response that we had as a school district, and
having
keep
that-
it limited to that.
And having a tool in level 2 where it stay, well, it doesn't stay there, but
Stick.
it been able to handle level 2 at your before it really get to level 3, because I've seen too many things get to level 3 which had no business in level 3.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
ma'am.
might I add that, and that's perfect, I think. I'm wondering if maybe level 3, we should have a preliminary written,
Well, we're supposed to have a copy of the response
The-
from level 1.
right, the response,
And a copy
right.
of the response from level 2.
You do.
And that should guide us to
Guide us through
stay.
that.
We get
Okay,
all that.
okay.
So we need to talk about this some more. It's, really, in my opinion, please clarify, but what I feel like we're talking about is FNG. Because that's the policy that just came up that has, everything you just mentioned, we already do on DGBA.
Right.
You see the level, so, I've had policy FNG, I've used it 3 times in my 19-year career. So all the more reason for us to just review how it works.
Review
and-
Dust it off and let's...
And better
let's-
understand it, Dr. Nelson, because we could be the ones to, by asking certain questions, that we get out of the realm of what should be discussed.
Yes, ma'am. So we'll come back with that, and we just wanted, you have the policies. I'd encourage the board to read them and solicit to Ms. Rodriguez any thoughts or comments that will help us prepare a follow-up conversation. Okay, may we proceed?
Yes?
Item number 9 is discussion and presentation on partnership with the City of Laredo to build a recreational area at Farias Elementary School. This actually has been spearheaded by Trustee Valdez and Trustee Garza, who have had communication with Councilman George Altgelt for that, who is the city councilman for that area. They have what's called CDGB monies that need to be used, and they would like to partner with us, and so we just wanted to put it on this agenda so that the board knows we're submitting a letter to the City of Laredo, and we should have an update on the interlocal agreement and the timeline to complete that project by our July meeting.
Maybe we can also communicate that I think we have a need for additional soccer fields for the elementary students.
We have a plan for that.
Yes.
The more fields we have, the better
better.
chances that
We'll
teams
talk
will
about
be
it.
organized.
No, we can
to
include
play.
that
At the next meeting.
in our conversation.
Okay.
Conversation.
I think that, if I may,
Yes, sure.
we're going to have a very, very nice recreational complex there because we do have the Boys Club, and you have, and then we have the City of Laredo with their own recreation center there.
And now
And then adding this other one here, it's going to be very, very nice.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to that. Item number 10, if I may, is discussion and presentation on the Student Code of Conduct for the 2016-2017 school year. Dr. Moreno and members of the board, we discussed our proposed changes to the Student Code of Conduct at our Student Services Committee meeting yesterday morning, and the main change is the establishment of a campus behavior coordinator and a few other minor adjustments that we're recommending. There was a very fruitful conversation, really spearheaded by the chairman of the Student Services Committee, Trustee Garza, on inconsistencies of implementation of discipline by campus, really what we would identify down to the assistant principal. And some look at the Student Code of Conduct and implement it to the letter, and some take freedom to just veer off of it. And it's created some perception by teachers that they're not getting supported. And so we recommend approval of the Student Code of Conduct with the understanding that in July and August, we're developing a plan to really be more consistent in our discipline on our campuses.
Did we change the color of hair and all that we had said we didn't want on there?
Yes, sir.
So we took out purple? Okay.
Green.
Yes, sir.
I saw a girl with purple hair, and I thought she looked good.
And we're going to continue to monitor out-of-school suspensions.
Yes, and in school suspension, yes. Both of those. We're going to reduce our number of out-of-school suspensions. Yes. May we proceed?
Next
Thank you, Dr. Moreno. Item number 11 is discussion and presentation to increase the local minimum wage from $7.25 an hour to $9 an hour for all substitute custodians, substitute bus monitors, and substitute cafeteria food servers at an estimated cost of $173,000. Members of the board, we've discussed this at several budget workshops, and we're prepared to make this part of our balanced budget, and we recommend approval of this adjustment to compensation for these employees.
Dr. Nelson, will
Yes, ma'am.
this mean that we will have no groups making under $9 after this, or do we still have anybody left out?
No, there's nobody left at under $9.
Can we make double sure of that?
After this is approved?
Because some of them are not mentioned in there. Can we just make sure that all of them are covered?
Yes, sir.
From every department?
Yes, sir, we'll make sure.
Yeah,
We'll go
because
back and double check.
I'm not sure if anybody's going to be affected by it. But a group that's not mentioned in there was a person that came to me that said that they were not.
From what
I made a
group?
comment
You know
too
what, can
on
you
the-
tell us what department?
On the spreadsheet you sent us on different positions that were open, there were two there that are not there, that said remember I talked to you about that? On the
It's up to
page
us.
you send us every
No, I know.
position
I know,
open,
but I can't-
it said $7.25
Make the motion.
per hour, and it shouldn't, and it wasn't one of these.
In the previous budget cycles, a couple of years ago, all regular employees were raised to above $9
So can we
an
just
hour.
make it a blanket statement on that we're just going to go, anybody that's at under $9 right now goes to $9? Rather that way.
That's accurate, but this meets legal clarification. But yours
Because it's a
is,
specific, because you're saying it specifically?
right, because these are the ones that in our system show we're at 725. So I do think that we should double check that there's no one else at 725.
Can you
because
look
our
at food
intent-
service, can you look at food services?
I'll look at food
Down
services.
there, I'm not sure if all of them, and I
It's
can't
on here.
verify.
They're here.
It's on here, cafeteria food
Cafeteria
service.
No, no,
food
that's
services.
substitute cafeteria food servers.
You don't
We're not
know.
talking about the people that work at the central plant over there.
They're already at 9.
If they're full-time employees, they're already above 9.
All right,
We'll double
At
check.
9 or greater.
We just gotta
I need to verify that. I'm not sure if it's
We
true
will
or not.
too.
I need to verify that.
We just
I
gotta
guess-
remember when we make the motion that we accept this and any other positions that are under $9.
Yes.
Legally, that covers everybody.
Right.
Mr. Valdez?
Thank you. No hay chance. What about the substitutes
Substitute teachers.
teachers, yeah, substitute teacher aides and the substitute teachers?
So
Oh,
substitute,
did they get a raise this year? Did
Yeah,
we
they got
provide a
one.
raise for them?
they
No,
did
we
not
did
get a
not.
raise this year. They were not included in this batch. No,
They
sir.
got one last
All
year.
right, why not?
They're substitutes. We did not include
No,
them.
we do that
They
every
got one
year.
last year.
We've done it, last year we did.
Last year, we gave them an increase.
Yeah. We've always given them a raise.
So that's something we can consider, if that's the wishes of the board. Just as we do with all of our other compensation.
Yeah.
So the board's already approved salaries. If you want to go back and consider an adjustment for substitutes,
Well, we shouldn't forget everybody. In other words, if somebody works for us here and it's part of our academic system, I mean, you
So-
do away with the substitutes and we're in big trouble.
Like-
So
like-
they're part of us, okay?
So just for a little history, Mr. Valdez, in June of 2014,
We'll
the
make a
board...
recommendation before the school board.
Yes,
meeting.
sir.
I'm sorry.
Do that?
We've
Well,
done it
in
every
June
year.
of...
June last year, what did you do?
In June of 2014, the board approved for only certified for 0 to 19 years level to go from $106.50 to $110. So
And that
in
was
June.
to go above UISDs.
That was to go based on the market, right?
Yes.
Right.
so we'll look at it and we'll bring something back for this board to consider.
Okay.
Next item.
Thank you. Item number 12 is discussion and clarification on salary increases for maxed out employees and new employees. Members of the board, if you'll remember this last month, the board approved salary increases for all paraprofessionals, teachers, and administrators. We have employees that fall into those categories that are what we call maxed out. And so we just wanted to we didn't want to make an assumption that they are eligible for the raises, even though they're maxed out. In the past, the board has,
allowed for maxed-out employees to be eligible for increases.
and so you have employees that are maxed out. We don't want to assume that those employees receive the raises as well because they're already maxed out. I'll go ahead and say, in the interest of our employees that are maxed out, we would recommend you give it to them, but it does keep our salary structure imperfect.
But let me ask you, can we keep the structure that we have, those that are maxed out,
Give
give
them
them a lump
a
sum
bonus.
bonus, and that way our structure stays the way it should, and these people take a bonus from the very beginning, they're still getting paid and everything.
We can do that, but I'd anticipate that our local teacher association and others will have a concern about the impact of their retirement with that decision. I support it. I think it's wise financial planning, but
Well,
you just can anticipate, I don't want the people to come to you saying, oh, well, what about our TRS? Because unless we're prepared to say,
we gotta look at
That wisdom does not apply to the ones that are impacted.
okay.
And in other words, it's wise on one side, but
Right.
why don't you bring us a cost estimate of what it's going to be so we know what we're approving?
But the cost
Yes.
estimate's the same regardless if you give them the...
A bonus or in their salary.
Same number. It's
But you want to know
the
what the
same
number
amount.
is. All right, we'll get you how many employees it would affect, and
So-
we can discuss it
We've always
on
done it
Monday.
that way, too. That's what we've done every year.
So then on the, if we can also discuss the, did you want to say something?
It's 227.
No, I don't want to do it right now. Thank you, though. So I would like to discuss the new employees. So in the past, there have been employees that have 90 days.
Right. In the past, what we've done is the employees are eligible for increase if they've completed 90 working days before the end of the school year. In this case, it would be 31 employees that would not qualify for the raise.
So if they've gotten hired within the last 90 days, then we're saying they would not get the raises.
But no,
And if they were
they
here
just started.
They
for
gotta
more
be
than
here a
90,
year.
then
They
they would
get
get
it.
the raise.
I thought they had to be here a year at least.
Yeah, at least a
They
year.
just
Well,
started.
that's why we're getting clarification.
Yeah.
So I hear the consensus is that one,
Yes.
we can continue. And we'll bring back information on the maxed out employees for the board to consider.
And the substitutes.
And the substitute teachers, yes, absolutely, absolutely. May we proceed?
Yes.
Item number 13 is discussion and presentation of the 2016 turnaround plan for school improvement. Members of the board, in the interest of time, we went over this turnaround plan in detail this morning at the curriculum and instruction meeting, and we went over it in detail last month. And our plan is to have a hearing on Monday at 5:15 to go over it again. It is for Figueroa Middle School. Our Director of Federal Programs and the principal have been working closely to make sure that we're in compliance and revisit our campus protocols to meet the expectations from TEA. We'll be recommending approval. Is there any
I never heard of it.
comments or questions? If it's up to the board, we can go over it right now if you want, but we're going over it again Monday at 5:15.
That's fine.
All right.
Go with it.
That brings us to item number 14, discussion and presentation of the memorandum of understanding between the Laredo ISD and the Kimbridge Dual Credit Program for 2016-2017 at an estimated cost of $10,000. Dr. Moreno, members of the board, this dual credit memorandum of understanding is between LISD and the University of Texas at Austin. It's a very prestigious AP, Advanced Placement Chemistry program where we did not have it this last year, but we've had it in years past. We've had as many as between 18 to 20 students participate. It's very competitive. We have, our teacher receives strict professional development with the University of Texas. There's kids from all over the state taking this course, and then they really compare the effectiveness of the program by the student scores on the AP Chemistry exam.
Is this going to be available to early college, high school
It
students?
is not. It is right now scheduled just to start with Figueroa Engineering Magnet.
Okay.
Okay. You recommended it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's fine. We go.
All right. May we proceed?
Yes.
Item number 15 is discussion and presentation on the Assistant Athletic Coordinator stipends for the 2016-2017 school year. We've discussed this initiative at several budget workshops this year, and it's our belief that under the direction of our new athletic administration, our plan is to really increase our support of the different initiatives that have been spearheaded by the board. So when you think about the feeder programs, the middle school activities, the elementary activities, we currently have an athletic coordinator and head football coach, and we believe that we need an additional person from each high school to help our athletic administration coordinate all of these different tournaments and events. So we're recommending a $5,000 stipend for each campus that myself and student services and athletics and the principal would coordinate on who's identified at each campus, and they would be working specific weekly with our middle schools and our elementaries to roll out the programs and initiatives that have been started by the board this year. We recommend approval.
We are going to bring us the information on that. We asked to go back and re-examine that, to bring that up to, like the other one, there was a comment, you all went with an average. I still like to see 8 to 10 going that, and if we do, we'll make it as a motion if we need to. But want some documentation to go with that.
You know, I'm not exactly sure what the board wants to see, and it's not, 5,000, 8,000, those.
I think for the work that they do, that they're going to do and all that, I think it's
no problem. I just want to be clear that when we proposed the $5,000 stipends, our process included going and doing a comparative analysis of where any particular head coach may fall compared to the current head football coach and athletic coordinator. And we felt very comfortable with that situation. If you're recommending 8, well, then we'd go do that analysis. If you're recommending 10, we'll go do that analysis, but I would bet that that's kind of messing up our structure. So we'll go look at it and bring it back to the board, but we just wanted you to know that for the recommendation we're making, we've already done the analysis that the board would expect to make sure that our salary structures are not imbalanced.
Well, but so...
Is this person getting additional days, or is this in lieu of additional days?
Well, we examined some school districts that add days. That's not our proposal at this time. Ours is just a stipend. If it's the will of the board, we could consider that, but most of the work that we're asking this person to do is within the confines of the 187 days. It's not in August or in June.
Okay.
So,
how many days is the head coach?
the way we currently do our athletic coordinators and head coaches, they do not get stipends in additional days for those positions. When we did our TASB study,
The campus coordinator, how many days do they?
They do not. They're on an administrative salary, and it's not a teacher salary plus days and stipends. It's just a salary. And that was changed with TASB.
So,
the TASB study.
Let me ask just a question. If we say they leave it as is, put them up to 222, it's the same thing. You know what?
We'll bring some options.
Yeah, because
we'll bring some options.
Did you say you were gonna bring out also a clear understanding as to what their job description is gonna entail?
Yes, and
you don't have to go through it right now, but to make sure that they follow those guidelines, that we have a set plan for them and what to do.
Yes, sir. And we'll provide that in the board
I
update.
guess the other thing is that, depending on who gets selected for it, some of these individuals may have extra days and some may not.
Right.
So it's not the same thing to say it's so many days if they already have the days.
That's
That
true.
would be no increase to them.
That's true.
And it could be for somebody else.
So we'll take a look at all that and bring it back for the board to consider on Monday. It's kind of a quick turnaround, by the way, so we'll need to work on that tomorrow, despite the offices being closed. Okay. Ready to proceed? Okay, item number 16 is discussion and presentation on the Spirit Group guidelines for the 2016-2017 school year. I just want to be clear in the interest of a follow-up and really being responsive to our elected officials in our school district. We had a situation with our spirit group guidelines that really ended with an embarrassment to the district, is what it ended up being. And it's because, first and foremost, because our campus and our central office did not follow policies and procedures the way we're supposed to. For the record, we applaud this board for correcting administration when we failed to follow policies and procedures as mandated by law. And we've worked very hard as an administrative team to rectify this embarrassment to the district. We've worked with the parent. Really, for the record, the executive assistant from my office has done the most work to alleviate the disappointment of the parent that filed the grievance that this board ultimately overturned. I want to be clear, we applaud it, we're not against it. I did not, I don't mind saying, think that it would be overturned, but that's neither here nor now. That's irrelevant at this point. At this point, what we want to do is we want to present the spirit group guidelines and take it through a process that is ultimately in August is approved by the board, and every school follows it. Spirit groups will dance and cheerleading will be coordinated by our Director of Fine Arts. He has already began the process of visiting with the sponsors to allow them input on the guidelines. You see evidence of those conversations in the highlights and scratch-throughs that you've had presented at this point. We'd now like to invite the board to review those guidelines and make recommendations, and then we will finalize all of that and present guidelines that will be implemented uniformly at all three high schools, beginning with the 16-17 school year. Any comments or questions?
Yes.
Dr. Nelson, we're going to make sure that not only, because you just mentioned at all high schools, it has to be at all schools, period, because I believe...
Secondary schools.
Yeah, secondary,
and
middle schools,
is elementary
elementary has...
Yes, K through 12.
Elementary has cheerleading, and we need to make sure that Title IX is because we're not following that either.
What do you mean?
We are following it, but in the situation that happened at school, male cheerleaders were assigned instead of
As mascots,
yeah,
right.
Instead of trying out, and that doesn't go well.
Correct.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mr. Valdez.
I have already taken a short look at
Guidelines.
the gifted spirit policies. We have these strange names here. I thought, I never did believe in spiritualism, but I guess we do have that. I think there's a difference between the operating procedures and the application procedures, and we need to separate them, but we need to look at the policies themselves so you can see what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir.
They're a little bit, the application procedure should be by itself, and once somebody is accepted and once somebody makes the grade, now we go into the operation procedures. Okay, you have to look at the policies the way they are. Also, I think it's a good idea to have the board approve them. They cannot be changed except by the board, with some flexibility.
Yes, sir.
But we also need to have policies for the transportation department. We don't have any policies there. And there are a couple of other departments that we have no policies for, and that has created some problems. They have not surfaced to the degree that it has impacted the services that are provided to our students. In other words, children are being picked up and delivered at the specific places, so the system is working. But there are some problems there that we can cut off before they surface into a real troublesome situation.
Yes, sir.
So I'm glad that you're taking that step to bring the
Begin the process.
right, and they should apply to all the schools, as stated before. Now, one question:
Yes, sir.
the gifted spirit policies are for sort of like the Tigerettes, am I correct?
Yes, sir. It's Golden Spurs. cheerleading, dance teams,
Okay.
Bobcat.
In other words, those are going to be policies that are being overseen and mandated by the board
Yes, sir.
through our administrative system. That's very, very important, okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I would like to just mention that whereas we've always had strict guidelines for the procedures and selection of cheerleaders, it's not always so with the dance teams, and we have to make sure that whatever procedures and guidelines we have don't serve to keep students out because they transferred in late or because they weren't there when somebody was having tryouts.
Or they want to be in band, or they want to...
Right, so, because those are groups that are currently, I feel like they're not as large as they ought to be. You know, cheerleaders are doing fine, everybody still wants to be a cheerleader. But the dance teams don't have the number of students that we'd like to have in there, so we need to make sure that those procedures are not going to further keep
Limiting,
students
right,
out.
yes, yes, ma'am.
I don't know if they have been doing fine. They've been doing a good job. I do know that they have not complained that much. But
Well,
once we set the policy
I guess
saying,
what
you
I
watch, we're
mean
going to
is
open
we
it up
have
to a
enough
lot of other
demand
students.
for it.
Right. We're going to open it up to a lot of other students that perhaps wouldn't even think of applying.
Right.
As an example, I already discussed just a little bit with you today. You know, it costs $1,000 and some to be a Tigerette. Now, that may not be much to a lot of people, but, and the only support that the district gives them is, we allow you to go out there and seek alms.
What?
Oh, come on now.
I do want to, I don't disagree, but let me just make a comment. I do want to applaud this board because, no, that's not, we actually give them $50,000 per, it used to be, you're right, but not 2 years ago, we put in $50,000 at every school for Tigerette, for
Cheerleading.
to help them defer
Travel.
the cost of, yes, sir.
No, we're not helping. We're putting in some money. No, help is a different thing. In other words, we merely gave them $50,000. But
Right.
I don't know, I differ with the word help because it seems like we're doing you a favor. No, we're not. They are part of our school system.
Oh, I agree, that's how we did, I think that's how we give the $50,000.
And let me tell you this, I was also discussing with the president of the board, you know, do we ask the band members and the football players to also go out there and solicit monies for their uniforms? We do not. I think we need to look at this. And we have another problem here. I would say that with a very, very high percentage, our cheerleaders are mostly females. We do have some males, okay? We do. I know in the Tigers, we have some young men that are very, very active. But, so this can be seen as a discrimination against women. Why is it that they have to go out there and scrounge for money when the boys do not? So it's something we need to look into. I know, Dr.
Title IX.
Title IX, that's why I said Title IX.
Title IX?
Right. But Dr. Nelson, now that you're working on these, with the Spirit Group guidelines that we should have already had, but I'm glad you're doing that, that we want to mention, you know, what a cost is going to be so that parents have an idea what comes with the territory. I know they do that at the elementaries, but I don't know if they do it all the way across. They do?
Yes,
The
sir.
other thing would be to learn how are they spending that money that the district is providing for the organization.
Yes, that's so.
We can provide that as well.
We'll come up with some policies.
Okay. Also, don't forget to include the things we were talking about at committee regarding safety and protocols and procedures for concussions.
I never thought about that.
So good information, and we'll continue to bring evidence to the board that we're improving those guidelines.
Next item.
Thank you, Dr. Moreno. Item number 17 is discussion and presentation on position recommended for reclassification. We are recommending the Civic Center manager go from a paraprofessional at 230 days to a professional pay grade 1 at 230 days, which would have an impact on the budget of $4,657.50.
Is this a degreed person? Dr.
It is, yes, ma'am. May we proceed?
Yes. Next
Item number 18 is discussion and presentation to approve the Texas Curriculum Management Program Cooperative between Region 1 Education Service Center and Laredo ISD, effective July 1, 2016 through June 30th, 2017, at an estimated cost of $137,870. We recommend approval on this one and the previous one on consent agenda. The Texas Curriculum Management Program Cooperative is the framework that we use with the Region 1 Service Center to outline our scope and sequence and provide TEKS resources for our classroom teachers.
I think we want to make sure that our English at the high school is very well aligned. There's those scores.
Evidence of English 1, absolutely.
Yes, and aligned to the test.
Yes, ma'am. Number 19 is a discussion and presentation of the Data Management for Assessment and Curriculum License Agreement between Region 1 Education Service Center and Laredo ISD, effective September 1, 2016 through August 31st, 2017, at an estimated cost of $80,999. We recommend approval on consent agenda for our DMAC system that we use all day, every day, specifically when we're getting our test scores back, and this is how we disaggregate our data. Any comments or questions?
What fund does that come from?
Our local revenues.
Local revenue?
Yes. May we proceed?
Yes.
Item number 20 is discussion and presentation on the sale and disposal of surplus computers and electronic equipment that are no longer useful to the district at an estimated amount of $21,260. Members of the board, this is being presented by our Fixed Assets Department, and it will, if approved, we will go to auction. No, we have a company that, Mr. Velasquez, we have a company that we're recommending to, that will take these computers away, swipe them clean, and reuse them, resell them. So they're a vendor, but they will become a buyer or a seller at some point. And
There's your money for your other car.
I appreciate your perspective, and we will consider that. So we recommend approval on item number 20 on our consent agenda.
You had a good issue.
May we proceed?
Yes.
Item number 21 is discussion and presentation on the final completion and release of retainage in the amount of $22,450 to Linedecker Construction for the Child Nutrition Center Cooler Expansion Project. Members of the board, we presented this at our Operations Committee meeting. I believe our child nutrition staff is very pleased with this project, and we're at the point now where we're prepared to release the final payment on this project. We recommend approval on consent. May we proceed? Item number 22 is discussion and presentation on the partial release of retainage in the amount of $735,017 to Linedecker Construction for the H.B. Zachary Elementary School project. That project is moving along fast and furious, and we're not finished with it yet, but we are recommending a payment at this time of $735,017. It is on time and under budget.
7,035, right?
$735,017, yes.
You said 7,000.
We recommend approval. Item number 23 is discussion and presentation of the direct deposit payroll program. Dr. Moreno, members of the board, we just wanted to make sure you had high levels of awareness on this. Our finance department is respectfully recommending that we have a direct deposit payroll program for all employees of the Laredo Independent School District. It's our understanding in my office that there will be some employees that will have a concern with this. However, we're trying to be more efficient, trying to get payroll done more quickly. And Ms. Ayala, you have anything you want to add on why we fully support this? We've been piloting it this summer. Yes. And so it's just started. We're first week of summer school, but everyone working this summer is in this program, and we want to expand it during the 16-17 school year. You want to add anything?
No, Dr. Nelson.
Any comments or questions?
On the employees that earn, shall we say, the lower scale in wages, do they all have bank accounts? Banks charge you what, an average of what, $12 to $15 a month? And we do have some employees that qualify for food stamps,
We do.
okay? And see, here you're adding a burden to them, unless they already have a bank account, but if they don't,
We will be facilitating the process.
no, they don't have to. In this case, they do, but you don't have to have a bank account.
You can pay to the bank that they wrote it from, and there's a...
Yeah. Sure.
Right. Especially if they go to our bank, there's no service. So we're going to be working with our depository to ensure that they give some type of incentives to facilitate the whole
Okay.
process.
I
During
know.
convocations, we're also going to have various banks available for those that select another bank.
Does
And
this
we need
include
to
also?
remind everyone, TRS, once you retire, you have
Yes.
to go.
In
through it.
IRS, the same
That's
thing.
right.
Oh.
So everybody that's working here will only get the retirement check if they're
And the
direct.
IRS,
And IRS.
only,
Social Security.
only direct deposit.
Who do we bank with?
BBVA.
Yes.
No, you say put a bank of commerce.
We do plan to transition for the next 8 months. In January 1st, 2017, everybody should be on direct
What's the
deposit.
city president's name at BBVA Compass?
It's a lady,
But,
Susana.
you know, I'm
right?
sitting here thinking if we have employees that for some reason their family has some type of hardship, well then let's
Yes.
set up something where they can go straight to BBVA Compass.
And last year they were giving $50 to open accounts, laptops, they were giving devices to encourage people to join their direct deposit, but we'll work with them.
Sure.
I do want you to keep in mind, I was talking with our board president, we do have 80,000 some residents in the city of Laredo that are under the federal poverty guidelines.
Yes,
okay?
sir.
And we feel, well, I feel that a very high percentage of those, with the exception maybe in Santo Niño, where they're in the corners, a very high percentage of those are in our district, okay? Now, most of the, shall we say, aides, custodians, and teacher aides and so on live within this area. When you add $12 here, $12 there, it begins to amount to something. And these people, sometimes you have 3 or 4 people in the family. No.
But we're trying to
No, I just
set up
want
a
you to
system
know
without
that.
fees, yes.
Point well taken, Mr. Valdez.
Because a bureaucracy doesn't care about those things, okay? You know, it's what's good for the system.
We think
we're
this is
sensitive
going to
to that.
speed up people getting their money on time.
Yes, and making it a lot
Checks getting
cleaner.
lost,
and-
yeah.
Yes.
Sound like Bernie Sanders.
So with that, so we're going to be going forward with that. It's not something we're asking for approval. We just wanted to make the board aware, and we'll be very explicit in our communication plan on that. That brings us to communications.
Yes.
And for the record, to the public, we have scheduled our monthly regular board meeting for Monday, June 13th at 5:30 p.m. We will have a hearing on our turnaround development plan for Figueroa Middle School at 5:15 on Monday, June 13th. And the reason for that is because several trustees and myself and several staff members will be attending the Texas Association of School Boards Summer Leadership Institute on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in San Antonio, Texas. And at this point, I would just end our meetings, you know, everything else as far as communications we'll clarify on Monday night.
Okay.
That concludes our agenda for this evening.
Can I mention something real quick, Dr. Moreno? No, just to, and it's very important for staff and everybody to understand this, and we need to see if maybe one of us can be present tomorrow. I think next Tuesday, is that the Laredo Housing Authority is going to have another vote on removing some families from Russell Terrace.
Okay.
And with a possibility, what that is going to do to our school district is huge if they remove all the families from there. Our ADA alone will suffer through millions of dollars. I think 200 kids or something like that would be removed if they go through that.
Yeah, I don't
So
think
before the city or anybody considers moving out of there, we need to make sure that our presence is known, how it affects us.
I think your points are well taken, Trustee Garza. We discussed this at Student Services, and we will, for the record, we will have representation at that meeting on Tuesday.
Is this
Yeah.
not to replace with more housing?
Yes, they're going to replace
They're
it
moving it-
in
they're-
north,
Yeah, but they're going to remove,
no,
they're going to
they're
remove
not
the
gonna-
north.
not right there.
They're not going to build anything else there.
No, not housing.
Those kids are going to go to UISD, so UISD benefits from
Where's
that.
this at?
Russell
Right,
Terrace,
Russell
my wife
Terrace
grew
on
up-
Santa Maria.
My neighborhood.
Santa
I put
Maria
a-
or Springfield?
No, Springfield and Plum, Springfield Locust, Springfield Elm.
And Santa
All the kids
Maria.
that go to Sanchez, Ochoa, all those kids are removed from there.
And Santa Maria and Lafayette.
Your soccer
That-
field.
No, not us. No,
But-
that's.
But we need to really look at
Okay,
it.
I'll double
become-
check.
Yeah.
We need to be involved in it to see how it's going to affect us.
Transportation.
Yes.
Dr. Can we get a report on how many students are living at Russell and Victor
Yeah.
Terrace?
We'll be honored to do that. So we'll follow up with that. Also, Harmony Science Academy enrollment is up by 200 kids. So we don't know where those kids are coming from,
Please don't.
but I'd anticipate they're coming from Laredo. A lot of them are coming from Laredo ISD. So we've got our work cut out for us to provide a quality product.
A lot of them are coming in from Nuevo Laredo, not from
That's true, too.
LISD or UISD.
That's true. But our point is that we got to improve the product that we're producing, because there are people trying to take our students away from the public school system. And
Do you have a takeaway ratio for that annually? How many students we lost versus how many students we gained?
well, we're certainly monitoring our average daily attendance, and we do that monthly. We do know down to the kid if they enrolled at a Texas public school district or if they went to private school, or so we do have some of that data, but
Do we have any
the
idea?
bottom line is they're leaving.
Mr. Valdez?
Do we have any idea why they're going to do this, or the house is so dilapidated that they need to
Yes.
be? Well, now, we need to also take into consideration the people that live there.
Yes.
They deserve to live in a decent place. And,
I'm all for that. But the thing is that we're going to be affected tremendously because of that movement. And how do we adjust to it? Can we get any?
no, I understand that too, but we can't be so selfish, saying.
No, I'd like for them to live in a better housing project, but how does?
In LISD.
Yeah. Because they started a couple of projects, one in South Laredo and one
In
in
other words, let them demolish a few and rebuild them, and then demolish it, but they can
One would
stay
be
there,
out-
We also got to take
There you go.
consideration.
Yeah, we can,
We're gonna
talk
lose.
about that.
We are gonna lose some money there,
Yeah.
but we're also gonna be gaining a lot of money with on the taxes from
The mall.
the mall.
I have a meeting on Tuesday at 2:00 at the La Posada Hotel to talk about economic
I'm part
development.
of that meeting. I'm in the economic.
Oh, la mía elige Alex, elige George,
Because we
elige
get our
para que le
taxes,
hablen
state
mayor.
is less.
Para que les
Oh,
digan.
really?
So you don't get more money?
I thought we got because property taxes. The property they were gonna get more
You
money.
get
Oh, we get more money than they take away
They
from us.
take it away from you. That's why they're giving you 75% or something.
We recommend adjournment.
Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Here it is, this is the word for you. No,